Welcome back. Thank you for staying with the broadcast. What was initially outlined as a 3-month temporary relocation of vendors of the Castries market has turned into a 6-month stint, and it is not sitting well with the vendors. They argue that their produce is wasted away as there is not enough foot traffic making its way through the temporary location. However, Mayor Peterson Francis implores the vendors to bear patience as the finishing touches are being put on the Castries market, and its opening date is slated for the 15th of January 2020. Solange Alfred tells us more.
A consultation meeting with the vendors of the Castries market regarding the migration into the newly refurbished Castries vendors market did not go as smoothly as expected for members of the Castries Constituency Council. Mayor for Castries, Peterson D. Francis, says the new timeline for the entry into the new structure may not be ideal for vendors. However, he urges them to have patience as the necessary finishes are put on the structure for its new opening date of January 15th.
As usual, we always keep them updated as to what is happening. So yesterday we had a little consultation with them to tell them that the building is now finished and has been handed over to Economic Development Ministry. But we are now going. There are things that we have to do still, as far as the stalls. We have the netting to prevent pigeons from getting in there, and we're also renovating the washroom.
Vendor at the Castries market, Deborah Felicier, says the move away from the temporary structure by some vendors is in part due to the lack of sales, resulting in produce wastage.
Yes, I want to go back where I come from because I'm not making no profit. I'm at a loss. Every day I have to throw goods. Look how while ago I finished. Look all that I have to throw it. I had purpose, I have to throw them because I'm not getting sale here. The people that buy the road, they don't want to leave because they're getting sale, but we're not getting sale here. When the people reach by the road, they're not coming inside. So I don't have no profit in what they're doing there. I'm at a loss.
And how do you think about the other people who have moved already, the other vendors?
Because they're not selling, that's why they moved. There was at the back there, they were not selling nothing, so they had to live there.
Felicia went on to detail the cost to stay at the temporary structure versus the return on her investment. She says, as it stands, it is not financially viable for her to remain at the temporary location. The mayor says, in terms of returning to the refurbished Castries market, vendors will not undergo any immediate financial burden.
So now we are looking, hopefully we are looking that everything will be in place by the 15th of next month. And, we had some vendors who were not happy as far as they're concerned to get back there as quickly as possible. All of a sudden they have a problem. A few as anything else has a problem. But the main contention is not really as to the delay of their returning to the market, but that some of their own vendors is leaving the compound and going by the old market and sell, and they believe that they are at a disadvantage.
The completed facility will form part of the Castries Vision 2030 plan to transform the image of business in the city. The facility will include a food court, a craft market, viewing tower, entertainment area, duty-free shopping, among other amenities. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
France's largest nationwide strike in years has severely disrupted schools and transport. Workers are angry about planned pension reforms that would see them retiring later or facing reduced payouts. Teachers and transport workers have been joined by police, lawyers, hospital and airport staff and other professions for a general walkout. On the local front, a union rep weighs in and likens the situation to the ongoing pension dispute involving Lucilec staff and the CSA. A call for more education was made to engage members of society when policy change is being enacted.
France's largest nationwide strike was sparked by French President Emmanuel Macron's plan to reform France's pension system. This unified pension system will see workers retiring later or receiving reduced payouts if they retire early. France's official retirement age has been raised in the last decade from 60 to 62, but remains one of the lowest among the OECD group of nations. 450,000 people joined demonstrations in 40 cities across France, not including Paris. About 250,000 marched in Paris on Thursday. The matter has stirred up a reaction from General Secretary of the St. Lucia Civil Service Association, Claude Paul, who compared the situation with the long-standing dispute involving Lucilec Grade 1 staff and the retirement age.
We see across the world efforts to regularize and reform pensions, because in France what the issue really is that there are different age of retirement for different people, as is here in St. Lucia. So the idea was to reform it. So when St. Lucia took the decision in 2003 to cut off government pensions as we knew it before, and let everybody go under one scheme of 65, so that means it's regularized across the country. So what we find in the transition to get there, we have this turbulence. And so the government, or the NIC, the authorities took a decision to phase it in from 2003 by adding 1 year every 3 years until we get to 65. Now, Lucilec was going along with that. And in 2015, suddenly stopped and started sending people home. So you see, it's really a transition kind of issue. And how it was handled that has created the problem.
Paul says the actions taken in France are indicative of a country whose people are in tune with current affairs of the nation. He says the lack of outrage and protest in St. Lucia when policies are being reformed necessitates greater public education on national issues.
We don't read sufficiently. We don't inform ourselves in depth about issues. We seem to survive on social media and the immediacy of what is communicated by a Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, whatever it is, and act on that, so that there's not that opportunity to look deep into issues. And you know, we have a sort of situation in St. Lucia where after 9 days everything disappears. I don't know. People say that a rumor can only last for 9 days in St. Lucia. So everything is treated in that, I don't know, I won't call it ad hoc, but almost flavor of the week approach.
Furthermore, Paul highlights a gnawing issue he says must be addressed in regards to the stagnation of pensioners' benefits.
We also have a situation where pensioners in general have a stagnant benefit. So if you retired sometime in the 80s or early 90s and your pension was $600, 19 years later it is still $600. And despite the change in conditions, in inflation, and the needs of those persons, particularly older persons who may have medical issues and other issues, what is that? Means that the pension is stagnant. However, you have to credit the late Prime Minister John Compton, who introduced what was called a Pensions Increase Act in 1970 with the intention of reviewing pensions periodically. But you know, that legislation has been buried below the mass of other legislation and was only recently discovered. And so CSA is taking up this matter.
Meanwhile, in France, oil refineries have been blocked, hundreds of flights cancelled as protesters aim to bring the nation to a grinding halt. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
A new organization has been launched by the local music fraternity who say enough is enough when it comes to the endless drama and controversy that surrounds the industry. Balance Inc. is looking to pull in artists from the soca, calypso and dennery segment to gain strength in numbers and to put an end to the hardship which they face.
Balance! By law! By law.
Right. The backup that local musicians have been calling for has finally arrived with the launch of Balance Inc., the no-nonsense organization that aims to look after artist welfare. The organization was launched at the Cultural Development Foundation on Wednesday morning and saw a group of decorated and established artists come together to put their feet down and say enough is enough to the hardship that local artists are forced to endure in the music industry. President of the organization, Lennon Blaze Prosper, said it has been a long time since local artists have been placed on a back burner, and this was down to their own doing. He said they now intend to fix this matter, and they mean business.
We are tired of being part of a club, and by that I mean a club. Clubs are situations where we come together and we just socialize, and we intend to do good things, but then the accountability disappears, and the trust disappears, and then nobody does anything about it. And then we're left all alone again in the club. So we've decided to start a business entity that is going to profit our members, where we're going to get artists to work and be in a working environment instead of just being in a club.
An impassioned Vice President Calix Kakal Xavier, who during the carnival season landed himself in hot water for deploying a smoke bomb inside an indoor facility during his performance, said the matter surrounding this incident was an example of why artists need to put their feet down and stand up to organizers who take advantage of them.
No longer will they use techniques to divide artists against one another, because balance is here.
I know.
After someone infringe on the rights of an artist, or an organization infringe on the rights of an artist, by just changing a venue for an activity in about 2 hours, and it was okay, every artist accepted it. Do the artists have to plan for the venue that you are actually putting them on? Right. I want to hear from the artists. It's interactive. Talk to me. We forget the media is there. Yeah. Let's forget the media. Is it fair?
No, it isn't.
And every other artist was those who they always call to their shows. But Xavier Kakal, you're wrong. But how am I wrong? How am I wrong? 2 hours before an activity, you changing it, and every artist have to run? Balance is here.
Another member of the executive in the person of Dennis T. Caro Leo, who is the reigning Calypso King and now serves as the programs director of the organization, said it was particularly important for him to be a part of Balance, as it sends a strong message to both the seasoned and up-and-coming artists.
My presence here is an indication that this organization gets support from the very top. If I did not join this organization, I'm sure whispers would go around, but how comes, Calypso Monarch not there? This one's not there. I believe it's an example that must be set. And I am taking the initiative as the Calypso Monarch to throw all of my support behind this organization.
The other executive members of Balance include floor reps Jonathan Ninja Dan St. Rose and T.C. Brown, HR personnel Walston Wale Alfred, Treasurer Katina Remy, Secretary Cornelia Animator Jacob, PRO Ambrose Juiceman Adolf, and Social Media Coordinator Manchus Kazabor. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
In an interview with Hot 7 TV News, Minister for National Security, Humankill Francis, spoke out against public criticisms of the forensic lab. Minister Francis says compared to the dilapidated state of the facility upon the UWP's entrance into office, there has been major progress in bringing the lab up to standard. He says next up to be completed is the acquiring of proper accreditation. He says the complicated process is being undertaken.
There is a process, and it's a very expensive situation. So we are doing that, and hopefully as quickly as possible we will get the lab accredited.
He also indicated that overseas training is in the works for all personnel of the facility. Minister Francis envisions that the facility will become an asset for not just St. Lucia, but the entire Caribbean.
So the government is working, the government is trying the very best to make sure that we have a first-class lab. We don't want the lab to just service St. Lucia. We want that lab to become the lab for the regional area, so that other countries, especially we start off with the OECS, and we can go further to see how best we can do it.
Special effort is being placed on ensuring that St. Lucian citizens receive top priority for employment and training opportunities with the forensic lab. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more news coming up after the break.